People always ask me what I do, and it's really hard to explain it simply. So a lot of times I just hand them my business card, and they're like, Julie Wilson, founder, CEO, president, for All Nations Hot Rocks. So you mean to tell me you made a sex pill? That's always the question. I was born and raised in West Virginia, small town. When I was 18, I moved to North Carolina with my cousins. I had this dream of opening up my own business and moving to New York. I didn't even know what the business was going to be. I just knew that I wanted to open up a business and move to New York City. But life happens, and before you knew it, I was married and pregnant at only 20. Needless to say, that didn't last very long. So I had an 8-month-old baby, and I was by myself. So I couldn't afford furniture, I couldn't afford television, I couldn't afford cable. So we slept on the futon in front of the fireplace. And I remember taking him to the laundromat when he was just like barely learning how to walk. He was like scooting. And I took him to the laundromat, and I would be doing our laundry, and I'd be reading him books. And I still had this dream, like, I want to do something big, I want to help people. But I didn't really know what it was yet. I was still so young. And I was working all the time. I ended up landing a job as selling advertising for a local newspaper. But the startup salary wasn't a lot, so I had to supplement it with bartending at night. Well, that still wasn't really enough to pay all the bills. So finally one day I said, you know what? I'm gonna just swallow my pride, and I'm gonna go and try to get government help. So I was really embarrassed to do it, but I did. I went to get government help, and when I went up, I'll never forget it. I filled out everything, and I sat there, and I was like, you know what? This is what it's for. And when I got up to the counter, the woman was like, we can't help you. I'm sorry. And I said, why? She said, because you have a job. During this whole 10-year span, the stress really got to me. I developed a lot of health problems. One of them being Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. I was in pain all the time. Pain, like excruciating pain. I couldn't digest food and had no energy, and I'm trying to work, and I'm like experiencing these horrible health problems with my stomach. And at first, I went to a couple doctors like, you have IBS, here, take this, you're fine, take that. Sure enough, I went to a doctor, and he said, look, you've got Crohn's, I'm sorry. There's nothing that we can do to reverse it. It's a disease you're gonna have to live with the rest of your life. I went to 2 different doctors, and they both gave me the same diagnosis, and they both told me that there's nothing they could do other than surgery. There's a lot of scar tissue that happens. You get blockage in your intestines. So the only way they can take that blockage out is by cutting it out. So I'm sitting here thinking, I work a lot, I have a child, I can't afford to have half my intestines cut out, because if you cut out half of my intestines at 25 years old, but you're not fixing why they're broken in the first place, that means there's going to be more scar tissue that forms. So I started doing my own research, and I found a book. I just stumbled across the book. It was Pure Synergy. And it was a book that was all about the healing powers of a raw organic diet. As soon as I read the first chapter, it was saying everything that the doctors told me not to do. Eat raw foods, take herbs, don't be so reliable on pharmaceutical medications. Everything just kind of made sense. So I thought, you know, what do I have to lose? I completely stopped everything processed, any animal products. I completely went vegan, organic, raw overnight. I didn't start feeling great right away. I felt worse. But the more that I read and studied about this was because my body was detoxifying and healing itself, and you're going to get worse before you get better. So I stuck with it. Then all of a sudden, about 3 months in, I got over this threshold, and I started feeling better. I started sleeping less, having more energy, being more focused. After about 6 months, I felt fantastic. I looked like a different person. I felt like a different person. I went back to the doctor, and they did the x-rays, and they checked everything out. I was there all day. And they were finally like, what have you been doing? What have you been taking? I said, Actually, the better question to ask me is, what haven't I been doing? What haven't I been taking? I didn't have 1 ounce of scar tissue. All of it was dissolved. It's like my body dissolved it and got rid of it on its own. It was a bittersweet emotion I'll never forget. I was told just 6 months ago that that wasn't possible. And I thought, am I a statistic? Am I like this crazy, unbelievable 1 in a million person that can do this? Or is this something that could help other people before they get like stuff removed out of their body? I can help them. I started digging, researching, going to retreats, reading books, meeting authors, meeting these health activists, becoming a health activist. I got to the point where I was annoying, I'll be honest with you, because I was self-righteous and dang it, I knew what I was talking about. I was one of those people that was standing on a mountaintop professing how you need to live your life to feel good. One thing I learned really quickly was that's not the way to work. I realized I needed to maybe create something a little edgier, a little sexier. The one thing that resonates with everyone that we all have in common is sex. When you're sick or you don't feel well, you're not going to want to have sex. Or you're not going to feel sexy because you're sick. Now I'm active, I do yoga and I run. I try to run every day, but I'm not perfect. I look at it in a different way. I don't look at it as, I have to work out because I have to be in shape. I look at it because if I run, I'm gonna feel good. There's a lot of other single mothers out there or people that feel like they've hit rock bottom for whatever reason. And I feel like sometimes if I can share my story with them, maybe I can give them a little bit of hope to do what they want to do.